The third degree, coming to the knowing. What you are called to do may not be for everyone, is not for everyone. It may not even be for those who you hope to benefit from it. And yet it's still your calling and your duty. Otherwise, you produce nothing. You become like the non-productive. See, what you are called to do is what you think about when you wake up. What you're passionate about. You know, there's no boss telling you to do this work, but your spirit compels you to do it. It's exciting. And so, scholarship is one of those things that I have undertaken simply by choice. I wake up, I think about, of course, friendship and the responsibility as a father, but as an individual beyond that, what has been revealed to me over the last 20 years of my adulthood has been extraordinary, right? Because rarely do I meet people who have had similar experiences. And so at the end, as we age, we can reflect back on our lives because we have more to reflect upon. Very often it can be easy to get caught up in the childhood, or what they call arrested development. And this is understandable when we are in our 20s. We're still young and we don't have much reference to life. Child is all we know. But once we enter our 40s, we now have multiple stages of references. We have 20 years, more or less, under our parents' regime. And then now we have 20 years behind us on our own. And as individuals, we know our intentions, right? We know the efforts we put into things. We know our desires and what we were striving for. And so no matter what the outcomes were, the Bible verse, prove all things and hold fast to what is true, comes to mind. Because when we were young, children, we were told what to believe. The narrative was given to us in schools and church by our parents. It was the outsiders telling us about what life is, what God is, what our purpose is, and what we should and shouldn't do. What's right and wrong, what's good and evil. But then, that's what I call the stage of belief. The stage of belief, because I believe my parents, right? I believe my pastor. I believed my teachers. But I didn't know, because I have not yet experienced it. But once you've graduated, you may believe some of those things were true, and you may believe some of those things were not true. But now it's up to you to go and experiment and experience the things that you have faith in, exercise your faith. It's like, okay, I'm going to invest time and effort in this belief. I'm going to put action towards my belief in this calling. in this process to make money, to start my own lineage. And that's where specifically young men should have in their minds and their mind frame, or in their frame of mind, because this is all about biblically based. You know, Cain, Adam's son, you know, he went out into the city of Nod and found a wife and bore a son named Enoch. And then he built a city and named it after his son Enoch. This is Genesis 4. And so the reason why this isn't taught is because, you see, this is not what you want a slave to have in their mind frame. The mind frame. This is not what you want a slave to have in their mind frame. You see, our teachings of the Bible were an improved version of the scriptures. And who approved it? Those we know who used it. From some perspective, abused it. And we see the fruits in this day and age, where we've been conditioned since we were young to not lean on our own understanding, to not question authority. And so what does that do? That's the making of a slave, where knowledge is forbidden, and for some of us that don't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. What do you mean I can have all the fruits of the garden except for the fruits of knowledge? But I can't go beyond the garden and see the world for myself. You see, if this is the perspective that you believe that man should adapt to the planet Earth, then that will be the way you live your life. Your life will go accordingly to what you think. Your life will go accordingly to what you think. Because as a man thinks, or as a woman thinks, so they shall see. The way that we operate, our operating system is deeply impacted by how we interpret the scriptures and the perspective we have in the book of life. So now we can operate from a slave's perspective or from the Lord's perspective. Either way, both perspectives have been presented to us. One has been told, and the other you must read to get the power for yourself. So there's also a third perspective, a balanced perspective. You know, you have at least 3 perspectives, maybe even 4. Because the 4 horsemen pops in mind. I think that Revelation 6, when you have the white horseman who came with fury, fire, with the sword to conquer and conquer. And then you have the red man, the Asiatic, the Oriental. You know, he's pretty significant in world affairs. He was given firepower. And then you have the black horseman, and he has scales in his hands. And we know that scales represents balance, justice, equality. And so his battle was different than the white man, the red man, and the pale man. Because the pale man, he also was given authority over a great portion of the earth. So the point of all that was to establish that each horseman has his own calling. Each has his own purpose. And his purpose may not be understood by some, because most people don't interpret these things, right? But nevertheless, the purpose must be fulfilled, and you have to stay true to your purpose, because it's never about those who won't, it's always about those who will. And so finally, once you've gotten past the stage of belief and you've put your faith into action, you went out on a limb and you took risk, and you've tried different things, and when you've taken different risk. When you take risk, you win some and you lose some. But in the end, you learn. You live and you learn. Because that's what life is about. Living, learning, teaching, earning. And so in the end, you get to know the third degree. You come into the knowing, and you know what you did wrong now. You know what was right. You know what was true and what was false. And so now you come into a new stage. A stage where you want to produce and compile what you've learned into something of value, something to offer. Whether it's creative, whether it's literature, whether it's performance, whatever it is. And so that you can fulfill your purpose, your calling. Producing and publishing to allow the seeds within to germinate. And so we know. And so we have journeymen, like germinating. And this is where we want to make sure we are developing and growing into. You don't want to get stuck in any of these phases. Growth. And so the word of the day is stay true to your calling, even if it is not for all those who you hope listen and empower or enlighten. But it is never about those who want. It's never about those who won't. It is always about those who will. So until next time, keep the faith. Peace.